That. It's 20.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Public Works and Finance Committee meeting of the Moscow City Council. To my left is Ann Zabala, one of our councilors. I'm sorry, that's my right, but not if you're looking at me. So to this side is Ann Zabala. This side is Maureen Laughlin. I am Jean Perucio. We're joined today by Jen Piffner, the acting city supervisor. And our first item is the approval of the Public Works Finance Committee meeting minutes of February 28th, 2022.
Look good to me.
Wasn't here, but they also look good.
Okay, awesome. Let's approve those. Second item,
They could go on consent.
is the disbursement report of February 2022. Sarah Banks, hello.
Hi. Yep. So looking at the accounts payable report for month ending February 28, 2022, which on your reports, you might notice it actually says 21. That happened last month too. So sorry, because I also said 21, but it's 22. Expenditures totaled $2,853,564.79. Our largest expenditure was payroll, $1,172,118. Then we did have a couple large expenditures I wanted to point out. We had 3 annual payments. One was to the city of Pullman for the 2022 airport maintenance contract. That was $32,013. We made our annual payment to our HRA VIBA Trust, which was a one-time payment for $87,726.99. And then our BSNA software annual renewal. That was $32,890. And we purchased a VACCON truck or equipment truck. I don't exactly know
It's a
what
truck.
it is.
Yeah.
$498,876. Yes.
Need some rides in that
Can you
truck.
go back up there and the one thing that was a one-time expenditure?
So we have there's 3 of them. Our one-time payment to the city of Pullman for our airport operating and maintenance. We had our HRA VIBA Trust contribution, and then our BSNA software annual renewal.
So they're really
One time a
annual.
year.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
because I sat down and thought, no, these have to keep going. So when you said one time, I thought,
Yeah.
no, I don't think so.
Just
We
this
gotta
will be
keep
the
paying
only
those
time
every
for this
year.
year.
But if they'd like to give it to us, I'd be happy with that.
Okay, any other questions besides clarification ones?
No.
Okay, awesome. I say we approve those. What do you think?
Yes.
Sounds great.
Okay. Sarah, stay where you're at.
Mhm.
Our next item is the fourth quarter financial report, July 1, 2021 to September 30, 2021. For
Yes.
fiscal year 2021. Can we say that a couple more times?
I know, 2021.
Okay.
So looking at your report, you're going to notice actually fiscal year 21 had some anomalies that we don't normally have. Usually everything comes in between 75 to 100% by the end of the year. But we had quite a few transfers on the revenue or expenditure side, and some expenditures themselves that exceeded 100%. And so I did want to talk about those. Within our general fund, you'll notice that our transfers were 143.6%, and that was due to the CARES funds that we received in the unanticipated fund balance, both of which we moved to IS. You'll see in capital outlay, we did not have a budgeted amount there, but council had approved for the mask test fit machine for fire.
For the fire department.
And so that's what that 18,000 was. In our streets department, we had a little bit more revenue come in for our highway user tax, road and bridge tax combination than we were anticipating from the state. So that made that a little bit higher. And then we transferred to capital projects 115,000 based off of that. Our largest one that you'll probably notice is within recreation and culture. And that's because we had the revenue come in for transfers because, as you know, those come from the general fund. But expenditures were pretty drastically low last year due to the pool and everything else that happened. So we did have a larger unanticipated fund balance, which we moved from rec and culture into the capital projects for parks, recreation
Awesome.
and culture
Okay.
capital projects.
So we can spend it this year.
Correct. Then let's see what else is there to point out. Same thing kind of in transit center. There was an adjustment in the contract. And so the revenues for that came in higher because of the adjustment that happened mid-year. So that was higher than anticipated. And then in water capital, or actually just our water operations, we had our DEQ loan. That was not budgeted originally because it came in and was completed after the fiscal year had started. So we had our debt service payments for $266,690, and that is in an unbudgeted line item. So you'll notice that. And then with an increase in revenue that came in, we transferred 160,000 to water capital. Let's see, for sewer, same thing with transfers. Again, all revenues anticipated, expenditures were low, so we were able to make unanticipated capital transfers for 400,000 in that, and then sanitation 44,000. And you'll see the information systems, the revenue looks high there. It's about 177%, and that is due to the transfer that I explained earlier from general fund. That was the CARES funds and an unanticipated fund balance that came in to make that increase. Other than that, everything else came out pretty standard. It does look about total for revenues and expenditures. We finished around 61 to 63%, even with those higher numbers. But that was again due to kind of the off year because of expenses and being conservative, not knowing where we were going to be with revenues.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Looks good to me.
None of that was a surprise. You guys
Yeah.
kept us in the loop really well, so I appreciate the recap.
Yeah.
But none of that was shocking. So,
All right.
okay, well, I say we approve that.
Approve.
Sounds great.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Thank
Sarah, I
you.
appreciate it. Our fourth item on our agenda is the consideration of the Milton Arthur Park playground equipment purchase. David Schott, hi. This is a fun item.
I like the pictures.
Good. Well, thank you for having me this afternoon. I appreciate it. So again, this is the consideration of the Milton Arthur Park playground equipment purchase. So Parks and Recreation is requesting authorization to purchase Miracle Playground equipment and a rubber tile safety surfacing at a cost of $100,000 from Garrett and Company, doing business as Garrett Parks and Play. For Milton Arthur Park, we're also requesting an additional $3,000 for our crews to install this in-house. Just to familiarize everybody with where Milton Arthur Park is, it's southeast of the roundabout off White Avenue. And so a couple pictures here just to kind of let everybody know where it's at. So a little bit of background, the total fiscal year 22 budget for this project is $195,700 utilizing the Hamilton funds. We're working with the Parks and Recreation Commission and a real treat working with the third grade class of the Palouse Prairie Charter School. They issued a questionnaire with their class, their school, and sent it out to other schools and got some feedback. And so we took that feedback and what we heard from the Parks and Recreation Commission and generated our request for proposals that we sent out to playground suppliers for the playground equipment. That was issued on January 3rd. We had 9, I sent it out to 9 of our playground suppliers regionally. We also listed on the city website. It given each supplier the option to submit 2 separate proposals, kind of get some more stuff for public voting. We received 9 proposals. We did disqualify 2 of those and consider them non-responsive. Didn't have the right surfacing that we had outlined in the RFP. So on January 22nd, the Parks and Recreation Commission reviewed and approved the submittals and authorized public voting. And so on February 24th, the Parks and Rec Commission reviewed the public voting results and recommended approval of the Miracle Playground equipment. I was really pleased on the level of public voting we had. I think this is a record since I've been here. We had a total of 574 votes between our online platform and our paper votes, which represents about 44% of the overall vote. Just some pictures of their presentation board. It's got the kids from the Palouse Prairie Charter School basically to summarize what they like. They want to climb, they want to slide, and they want to spin. And so I think this captures a lot of their intent.
I kept looking at this picture. Can I just ask you a question? The one that's the climbing thing, how do you get inside? I'm like trying to figure out if there's a door somewhere.
No, I think the kids just climb in and out and through and all that good stuff.
Are those holes big enough for a body to get in through? I mean, maybe I'm an adult body that thinks there's never make it through there.
Right.
But I'm just curious on how bodies make it in and then also make it out.
Well, I think the kids will find a way, and our park staff might have a hard time inspecting it when they got to get in and out. But it might be
I can relate to that.
humorous.
Head stuck in that. That's funny.
Just a couple more pictures for everybody to get a feel for what it looks like. And this is the plan view of the site, kind of the schematic that encompasses the use zones, just looking overhead down. And so just a little bit of the project background. Our total budget for this, as I noted earlier, was $195,700. In the RFP, we listed a do not exceed price of $100,000. We're anticipating the concrete and the accessible pathway to this structure will be just over $91,000. We got some money for a crew to install and some legal advertising if needed. And so, and this is coming out of the Parks capital expense line item.
What is the advertising for? Just
Legal.
to tell people that
It's like
In the newspaper?
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
okay, there you
This is just a snapshot of their fee proposal. So we're looking at right at $100,000. So one thing I would note here down on the bottom is we are looking at 4 to 8 months of delivery. A lot of the suppliers reached out to me during the RFP and said, "Hey, what are you looking at here?" We're just nationally, we're kind of seeing that everywhere. So hopefully we'll get it in and installed this at the tail end this year in October, September-ish, October. But it kind of depends on delivery as well. So. And so our recommendation is to approve the purchase of the playground equipment from Miracle and the safety tiling system for $100,000. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions or take comments.
I have some.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so the first one I have is just a shout out for Palouse Prairie. They did the housing one the other day, and now they're on this one. It's kind of fun. Have we ever used them before? Miracle Playground equipment?
Not since I've been here, but we do have Miracle Playground equipment on the parks. I'm not exactly sure where, but I
Okay.
know we do.
And I know that you guys always install the equipment yourself. How much money does that save us?
We calculated that a few years ago, and we were thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of $15,000 by installing it in-house.
We appreciate you doing it. That was just straight up. I thought,
Oh, that's
okay.
great.
I think that is, do we try and buy equipment, different equipment for each park, or do we like try and get similar things? Like they all should have a slide and they should all have,
Great
climbing
question.
equipment.
Thank you, Councilor Laughlin. We've been discussing that a lot with the Parks and Recreation Commission. We've put in 4 or 5 different playgrounds since I've been here in the last 6 years. They're all what you'd call a traditional playground. They're fairly similar. Lola Clyde Park, we really focused on inclusivity. So rather than a transfer platform for ADA that you see on most of our playgrounds, it has ramps. And we budgeted extra money for that. They're more expensive. We heard from the kids and we heard from the Parks and Recreation Commission that we want to have something a little different, something a little more adventurous. And so this one's a lot different than our traditional type playgrounds out there. And I think the kids are going to love it.
have we ever thought about, I know that in Missoula has a playground structure that they put in a couple of years ago that actually it was designed by the students in the university. And it's really different and very unique to me. And I thought, if we ever use the university as a possible basis on picking park equipment.
I have not, to
Okay.
answer your question simply. The way we currently do it is we kind of put out an RFP and say, this is kind of what we're looking for. We're asking the suppliers to give us a design and come back with it.
I was just thinking when they said they were looking for something different, I sat there and thought, well, maybe that would be different, but anyways.
I was at that Parks and Rec meeting when you started talking about the playground equipment for Milton Arthur, and I completely agree with your assessment of the fact that people wanted something different. I mean, we need to have the traditional swings and climbing things and that sort of thing, but it was clear they didn't want the same old, same old. So I think you've achieved that. That crazy thing that we don't know how to get into looks like
We're out of
serious fun.
For sure.
So, do you have any questions?
No, I think it's great that it came under budget, even a couple $100. It was fun to see. I was like, yeah.
It's awesome. All right. Well, shall we approve that?
Yes.
And I think this can go on consent. As much as
Thank
we'd
you.
like to have those pictures up again, you can.
If it's a short budget,
On
we'd like to at least
consent.
have a display of the
Perfect.
pictures.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Thank
much for
you.
your
Thank you,
time.
David. Good job. Okay, our next item is FAA and State Terminal and Apron Grant Award Reauthorization. Tony Bean,
We may need to
bump this one.
items
Okay.
a bit. Looks like Tony's not there.
Nope. So let's move on. We'll jump on to the Lilly Street Construction A Street to 3rd Street bid results. Scott Bontrager. Hello, friend.
Hello, good afternoon. So the first project we have to present today is the Lee Street Reconstruction which covers A Street to 3rd Street out there on Lilly. And then as a alternate bid was covering 1st Street going from Llewellyn back to Lilly. This project is mainly to replace all the underground utilities, the roadway, curb gutter, sidewalk, pretty much a whole redo of the neighborhood through there. The utilities are at the end of their life. So as a part of the base bid, we were also looking at extending the pathway that's to the
Right.
east of here through Lilly and Honest Park, all the way actually back towards Almond Street, daylighting the creek, because the creek right now is currently going through a culvert system that actually cuts through the apartments right there by the furniture store. So we put this one out to bid with both a base bid and an alternate bid, put it out on February 5th, trying to get interest from contractors. We only had one bid that actually came back from Reconstruction. So the, excuse me, the engineer's estimate on this for base bid was $1,577,822 with an alternate of $211,587. But the contractor's bid that came in was nearly 500,000 over what ours was. So unfortunately, our recommendation is to reject all bids and rebid at a later time. I've talked with a few of the contractors that initially showed interest when we had a pre-bid meeting, and they pretty much told me, one, a lot of the precast concrete stuff right now is very difficult to get and way far out. And two, a lot of the contractors' plates are just full for especially a projects this size.
Will we rebid it in the fall then, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, that's the intent is,
Anybody think we can get it lower?
yeah, I believe that we can.
Okay.
So some of the items on there that they showed as kind of bidding the risk on were, there's a concrete culvert box that has to go underneath the Lilly Street to
Right.
carry the creek from one side to the other. That one is just really far out to get right now. So when we contacted them initially to manufacture the box, it's normally like a $20,000 box. Then install is not that expensive. Well, they bid that at $250,000.
Oh,
So-
did you ask for 2?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
we estimated it with installation at more like 70,000. They gave us a bid at $250,000. So little things like that start adding up. And same with a lot of the pipe. Getting pipe right now because of the supply chain, it's just very difficult.
Oof.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, knowing that the utilities are kind of at the end of their life, we're not at risk of any emergency situation in the interim, right?
No, not right now. And realistically, if there's any spot repairs that are necessary out there, we can handle it.
Great.
So basically, you think just time will give us a lower bid?
Yeah, and a lot of the contractors had told us that if we get way ahead, we actually bid these out in the fall, give them a lot of time to start procuring materials, especially once manufacturing starts ramping up again. They can get us a lot
Probably.
better prices and be able to get as being one of the first ones on their list as opposed towards the end of their list.
So would they do it next spring or?
That would be the intent, yes.
A little farther away from the pandemic.
Yeah.
All right, well, shall
Makes
we
sense to me.
reject?
Reject.
Recommend that? Yep. And then
Consent.
again, that's consent. Okay, and Scott, stay where you are. The next item is the Paul Mann Building Restoration Projects, bid results and contract award.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
All right, so the Paul Mann Building, everybody's favorite. We have been looking at a restoration project for 2022, and this is what it looks like a little bit. So a couple years back in 2011, we retained the services of Rimrock Consulting, and they performed a pretty in-depth structural evaluation of the Paul Mann Building. And what they found is there was kind of moderate cracking. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. The structural engineer said that though the structural integrity of the building was not really a great concern of his at the time, his biggest issue was the potential for moisture to infiltrate the building and to cause problems down the road. So this one has been revisited, 2021, Castle.com architects from Lewiston. They performed kind of some design services as well as documented the existing conditions of the cracking. And these are, there we go. These are kind of elevation views of what he found. So this is the south elevation. This is the worst one. He has the cracks indicated there in red. Here's the west elevation. And basically the design that we are running with right now is to, number one, shore up the integrity of the masonry. So this is going to be done by using a structural epoxy, which is going to be injected into the masonry blocks. This up here is kind of what it looks like when they perform that activity. After that time, After that time, a fluid applied weatherproofing barrier is going to be applied, and that's the image that you see to the right, in order to not only cover up some of the epoxy, but also provide a weather type barrier around the entirety of the building. So next, these are some elevation views. I'm sorry, I wish they could have been a little bit bigger. But what we see here is we have the south elevation facade, and what you see is metal wall panels. And it's kind of hard to see, but these ones are horizontal, and then above the door, they're vertical panels. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But in the base bid, I'm still figuring out the clicker, bear with me. On the base bid, as you can see on the bottom two elevation views, the north and the east elevation remain largely untouched. You can see the masonry units themselves, they just call for a painted finish. So that being said, one of our alternates that we received pricing for was, instead of the painted finish, as you see on the top, on the north and east faces of the building, it would be a full metal cladding system around all four faces of the building. So you guys are probably wondering what that looks like.
Yeah.
Here are just a couple snippets from the websites. The vertical panels are going to be what's called a 10TA horizontal panel. That's a Main longboard product. They have a number of different finishes to choose from. We're still working with our architect to kind of determine what the cost is for some of the options and stuff like that. But a lot of the horizontal panels have kind of the wood grain appearance. So between this and the weatherproofing, we are under the impression that this is going to add a lot of service life to the building, and also keep the environmental concerns to a minimum as far as moisture getting inside. Lastly, kind of to come full circle, inside the project scope is also removal and replacement of the thermoplastic membrane roof. There are two options. The base bid includes a 60 millimeter membrane thickness, which gives a 20-year warranty. Adult number 2 includes an 80 millimeter membrane thickness, which would give you a 30-year warranty. And then on the right, you can kind of see a little bit of a cross section of what that looks like. You see the membrane roofing being applied over a 3-inch thick layer of rigid insulation. And that's kind of the same configuration that they have spec'd out for the Paul Mann building. So that's a little bit of a rundown. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
So I have a question, and that is, how long will do we think the construction, we think it's only going to last 20 years? I mean, is there some sense in terms of, after we do all the construction, how long it should last?
I'm sure the building's going to have a much longer lifespan to it. And it also really depends upon, too, how it's maintained.
Right.
I mean, we'll have the exterior sealed up, various components, your HVAC units, things like that are going to go through its normal life cycles and everything. But I would assume the masonry and the framing of the building are still going to last a long time.
Okay, so one of the problems with the Mann building, and I know you're going to tell me it's cost, but the building has no windows. When you look at those pictures, there's like no windows. Was it just astronomical to put in some windows?
You want to touch on that?
Yeah. So we actually, you weren't the first person to notice that it has no windows. So we were kind of directed to get some pricing and do an investigation on what that would look like. What we found was that in order to run windows in the building, they would need to install structural steel supports from the foundation through all the walls, all the way up to the roof. Occupants would have to move out of the building, and then all interior walls would have to be demoed. In addition to that, the price of the building on the low end was about $75K.
Just to install windows and all the structural steel.
So
So you can put paintings in there. Here's the outside.
I think lamps would be cheaper.
Wow.
So this project, we did publish bids on February 5th, advertised with the base bid and 2 alternates. The architect's estimate was roughly $150,000 for the base bid, with $26,000 for alternate 1, which was to do the additional wall panels, and then $45,000 to switch from a 20-year to a 30-year roof. We got one bid that came in from Darden Enterprises out of Post Falls.
Post Falls.
And the bids came in great. The base bid at $139,486. add alternate 1 for 24,120 and to switch to a 30-year roof for an additional 9,250. And the recommendation we have, since it is below budget, is to select base bid and alternates for 172,856.
How did that alternate 2 come in that much lower?
I'm wondering, I don't have the experience necessarily for the difference between 20 and 30-year roof, but I'm curious if the architect had saw it as one versus the other as opposed to this plus this,
Mhm.
Yeah, that does
which
seem
may
a
have been the
little bit.
difference.
Yeah. Well, I think they're going to give us a bargain. We ought to jump on it.
Yeah.
Do
Sounds
you have any
good.
questions ahead of time? Other than the $75,000 window option?
It's not just one window, it'd be multiple
Well,
windows for
windows
$75,000. Let's be clear.
And steel structures.
5
through the
windows,
walls
okay.
Yeah.
and- Yeah.
And if I may, this was part of the bond project that was
Right.
passed in 2019. So this is kind of the last domino in that series of building projects that's going on. So
I do think that the doors were glass, so there's some sense of light somewhere.
Just really bothered by that lack of windows.
I do think the building will look quite nice with the metal cladding on it.
I
Great.
agree. I agree with that. Okay, so I say we recommend acceptance, and I think that we probably should put it on consent, but then if we have a really short agenda, you can put it on regular, but
I think it can go on consent.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, guys,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Thanks for all
right.
the work on it.
I still don't see Mr. Bean, so I'm going to go ahead and go on with the Palouse Ice Rink. Thanks again, guys. Our next item is the request from the Palouse Ice Rink for Hamilton funds. Mia Bautista and the, come on up, Christina, the Palouse Ice Rink representative. That's you.
2 of them.
Oh, there are 2 of them.
And
Dave Robichaux.
we can grab another chair if you want to come up.
Hello.
All right. So what you have before you, if you recall, and all 3 of you were fortunate to be on the last council where they approved resolution 2020-102 and
Yeah.
then the memorandum of understanding with the city and Palouse Ice Rink that went along with that. So there's been several things that have changed. If you want to provide kind of an overview of the changes that have taken place since this went into effect, and then I can talk about the specific changes to the resolution and the
Good.
proposed amended MOU.
Okay, so you're going to challenge my memory here. I think the biggest change is that the cost of construction has gone up a little over $1 million. ICCU came back to us and said, we'd like you to raise more money, show us that you have the money that you're going to need for construction and getting through phase 1 to completion. So we did that. And then we also were able to reduce the budget in a couple of places and save some money. Pete, do you have anything else to add to that? I think that's probably the biggest change. I don't know. Do you have?
What of that is the idea that you sold part of that to Mountain Sports, and so they spent $600,000 on that. That must have given you some more capital in there, just to help not get you to $1 million, but
You got to come up and
Yeah, and if you look at
And
both
get
the
on tape,
resolution and
that
the
sort of thing.
MOU, I did try to provide some history of
Yeah.
what took place in
tons of history.
between. Yep, in between when you approved the previous resolution and the MOU to what we're proposing today, and that starts on both page 3 of the MOU and I believe page 3 of the resolution, where it kind of details some of the history that the property was sold, that it was condominiumized.
I know that's a
That's
hard
a
word.
challenging word to say.
Condominiumized.
And unit 1 was sold for $600,000. They were allowed to use that to put it towards the construction of phase 1.
Okay.
They also sold off one of the house, I think at 325.
kind of behind back.
Yep, that's
Mhm.
correct.
And that was sold, and that money I think was
Mhm.
put towards the construction cost.
Okay.
And so they're definitely taking steps to try to make this happen and to meet the demands that the cities asked for and the demands that ICCU has asked for. Previously, it was Zion's, and then that fell through, and then they were able to secure the funding with ICCU. But certainly, if you have any other updates.
That's where we're at.
And so part of that with ICCU is they had requested some changes to the MOU regarding some of the language and the draw process. And so City Supervisor Bill Belknap and I met with Palouse Rink representatives and ICCU, their loan officers, and walked through what that draw process would look like. And ultimately, we all came to the conclusion that what you see in the MOU is something that would work for all of us and allow us to still make sure that we're following our fiduciary responsibilities as to the Hamilton funds and make sure that they are being utilized for the phase one expenses as contemplated by all the previous resolutions.
Can you tell me, after Dave takes part of the funds and this takes part of the funds, I'm just curious on how much money's left in the fund?
That I can't speak to.
You can probably get it back to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
That's helpful. It's just, I mean, you suddenly think, I mean, hopefully it made money in the stock market, but at some point we're just hoping it doesn't run out of money soon.
So repeat to me again, you said that you visited with ICCU and with the ice rink, and you are comfortable with the MOU the way that it's changed. And I think it was important to update it. There were big changes, substantive changes.
Yeah, I think
So-
the updates are consistent with what council's intent was for the funds, and it
Okay.
allows a process in place for checks and balances and to make
Okay.
sure. And one of the terms from the previous MOU and resolution was that the city's funds weren't expended until all the funds were available to be able to proceed with the full construction
Right.
of phase one, which I believe they've been able to meet. The cost has gone up significantly, but that's some of the change that Palouse Ice Rink has done. They've taken a lot of steps to try to raise or receive those additional funds
Yeah.
through the sale of other parts
Yeah.
of the property.
I
And
think
then other fundraising, and then ICCU increased their loan amount, I believe.
A little bit,
assist.
yeah, 50,000.
I just have to say, you guys have worked on this for a really long time, and I'm really hoping that we can now just sign off on it and it can move forward because it's been a lot of energy and the community's ready for it.
That's what we're hoping.
Great, thank you.
Do you have any questions? I know that one of the other counselors asked that we would put this on regular agenda. So we are we'll recommend or review it, and we will recommend approval.
Right.
If I'm reading the tea leaves right here, but then we want to put it on regular agenda so the rest of the balance of the council can listen and have a discussion. So you have to come back.
Okay.
At a council
You get to
meeting.
come back.
It's going to be awesome. Oh, yeah. Pardon me. You get to come back and attend a meeting. But strong work. This. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel here.
Yeah.
A little bit. So that's kind of exciting.
So can we, we're looking forward to having a celebration at the ice rink. So very much so.
We will be there dancing.
Better than skating.
No, I didn't say skating. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I saw a airport manager guy wander in the room, didn't I? Okay, Mr. Bean, good afternoon. Our final agenda item is the FAA and State Terminal and Apron Grant Award reauthorization. Good Lord.
So I have to apologize. I'm going to change the number.
You're going to, oh,
Request.
good. That's
It's going up,
awesome.
not down though.
Awesome. It's going up?
It's going up.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, that's nice.
There's additional funds with the bipartisan infrastructure law,
Mhm.
and we opened a bid on Friday or on Thursday afternoon, and the bidding it's not a good time to bid projects right now, but
Oh, so all kinds of fun.
engineering estimate was 14.5 million, and we got a single bid and it was at 20.5.
Ooh.
So with asphalt is between $180 and $200 a ton.
So are you
Wow.
going to do the same thing that in terms of waiting and rebidding it, or are we just
We
gonna-
don't know yet. We're going to wait. There are two other bids right now. Wenatchee in Washington State is opening on Wednesday for a taxiway, and Tri-Cities Pasco is opening on Friday. So we had a discussion with the FAA today, and then we'll just see kind of what it is, and then we'll make a recommendation to the board. But there is additional funding either discretionary, because this is for the apron itself.
Yeah. Okay.
So this doesn't have the caps like the terminal does. This is a completely different kind of, this is a normal, I guess what you would term for us a normal project.
You don't have those, Tony.
So this would be more in the normal line of, it's a place where an aircraft either takes off, lands, parks, that kind of thing. So it's not a building. It doesn't get into some of the complexities that the building does.
So just because verbiage, so one is the runways, and then the apron is the area after you get off the plane and you walk into the building. What is the apron?
Okay, so let's see if I can, it's easy. I'll explain it like an interstate. Okay, so you have an interstate.
Yeah.
And when you get off the interstate and you get on the interchange,
Yeah.
that's like a taxiway.
Uh-huh.
So that you land on the runway, you get onto a
Right.
taxiway, you taxi to a
Okay.
parking lot,
Mhm.
which is the apron.
Okay.
So what we're
good.
talking about with the project that we bid is the apron. We have to collect stormwater now as well as de-icing fluid. So when the aircraft is de-iced, we actually have to collect that and we have to figure out how to dispose it. So there's a 174,000 gallon tank in the ground to collect de-icing fluid.
Awesome.
So it's a different reality. It's not something we do now, but discussions with FAA though, we'd like to request the maximum to be 32 million versus the 21. So I don't have to come back here and ask again, unless you want me to come back here and ask
These are
again. and I
really
can do
fun
that.
meetings. I just want you to know.
I know.
Now, is that okay to do that?
Well, and so with the 21 million, you're delaying that request until you hear back from the,
No, we're going to make the full request for 32. If
so
we can
adjust the
amend it.
21 to the
Mhm.
32.
And so the match would be in that scenario, because the BIL funds are 95% federal money.
Mhm.
So where our
that's
regular AIP funds are 91.88, the BIL funds have a higher federal share and they're competitive. But right now, I guess if we would put an analogy to us, we may not have all of our ducks in a row, but we know where they're at. They're all in the same pond. There's a lot of people right now that don't know you can have a pond. So
Okay, so basically, let me just be clear. The increase, you're looking for federal monies to do that and grant funding to do that and not additional funds from
Correct.
Pullman or Moscow.
correct. Yep. This is
a lot
to
easier to vote for that.
accept federal and state funds.
Okay,
So 21 million goes to 32 million
And-
match for the city in particular. There is still no because of the type of funds.
No, we still can cover the match. The match amount changes to, it's approximately 1,629,429.
Mhm.
And that's with a mix. So part of that's 91.88% money and
Yeah.
part of that is the 95% money if we're awarded it. So we just want to be sure that if we do get awarded, we can turn the grants, because that's always the issue with the grants, is it, especially with two sets of sponsors, where Pullman and Moscow both have to sign, and they have such a short time frame. We always get pre-authorization for the mayor to sign from the councils.
And
That
so
way, if it's awarded, we have it.
I think what we could do is, of course, put this on regular agenda.
Yes.
Make some adjustments, update the,
Hey, I've
the
got this.
information.
Do you have any questions, Anne, before?
Yeah,
we-
just to make sure I understand. So the match will change, but it's coming from airport care grants or care funds.
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Well, I think you got a good vibe from the group here, but I do think you need to come to regular,
That's okay.
to the next council.
I'm
meeting and
okay
talk
with
to us
that.
about that.
There'd be
not
some,
like you haven't been here enough, but a couple more times.
that's okay. That's okay. There'll be some different information. Hopefully by then
Yeah.
we'll have some better idea of
Some of
you
the
know,
other bids.
yeah, is there something we could do to make a change? But it's just the volatility of the market right now. And in having a single bidder, there's some processes that go with the FAA for that. They don't like a situation where you have one bidder, but when you're asking for bid holds of up to 90 days with some of the things that we're hearing just in the market, that's
Mhm.
hard for a contractor to do right now.
So we're not up against any deadlines. I guess the last couple of times we talked about the airport, there was some urgency with some of the grant.
It's when we finish.
Requirements?
Well, the FAA just got turned loose to be able to issue grants. Because when we were under the continuing resolution, if the FAA doesn't have more than 6 months of authority, they won't issue a grant. So that when Congress goes into the CR issues where they can't get a full year's
I see.
authorization,
Yeah.
we might have money, there's appropriation, but there's no authority to spend the money. So the FAA will hold it until they get past the 6-month period, and then they'll prorate it from there. But now they've got the full year's funding. So we're going to start seeing grants, and they're going to come fast.
Okay.
But the timeline push was the end of 2023 to be substantially complete.
Okay. And $32 million will get us
It'll be the last one.
Get an apron.
an apron and a,
Get us an apron, get the remainder of the terminal authorized. If we do get awarded BIL funds, we have the authority to have the mayor's sign on it and accept it. And so this is going in front of Pullman City Council tomorrow at 7:00.
okay. Awesome. All right.
Can I ask you a question? It's not on what you have right here again. I forget what it is that we're going to do with the existing terminal. Should they
So-
become offices?
We would like to repurpose that into an aeronautical use. Cargo would be something that would be of interest because with that building, it's kind of the way it's laid out, you could knock out both doors and drive a truck right through that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got enough space in there that a cargo opportunity would be something we would be interested in. An opportunity for another aeronautical business, who knows? But aeronautical use would be where we'd like to see it go because it is a requirement for the building. It's just trying to find somebody that would be interested in that. And it may be if somebody wants to build, like, say, a giant hangar there or something, they would essentially end up buying the building from us, demoing the building, and then reusing that site. But there's a lot there to develop. And so we're looking at what different development things that could be done that would be in the best interest of the region.
Awesome.
And cargo was the one that, just kind of jumps out at you just because of the way that everything's been moving as far as retail is concerned and access and Amazon and just kind of how the market's gone for the last 5 or 6 years.
And is there any demand for another hangar? I mean,
There's always demand for hangars.
okay.
We just, for years, we didn't have anywhere you could put a hangar. And so it was just locked up because the runway and the taxiway, everything was just too close. So now in 2023, when we're finishing up the terminal, one of the things we're going to do is a master planning piece to help figure out where hangars should go and redevelop the airport to maximize the use of those properties.
Mhm.
So we can get as much aeronautical function out of that as we can. It's not laid out extremely well right now, but it's a requirement for the FAA is we have to go through a planning process and make the most efficient use of the space.
Okay, thank you.
Sweet. All right. Well,
We'll see you at the next meeting.
see you at the next
I'll
meeting.
be here. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Piffner, do we have anything else, any staff reports?
No staff reports.
Okay. I would entertain an adjournment.
Adjournment.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.